And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. So a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll finds that opposition to the Iran nuclear deal has doubled since the question was last polled. Shortly before the deal was announced in June, 35% of the public now favor the agreement, while 33% are against it. The rest of those asked said they really didn't know enough about it to respond. Right after the nuclear deal was announced, 36% of the public approved it, 17% opposed it, 46% didn't know enough. So, while those in support have held their numbers, the undecideds are clearly going into the anti-column. Is this the result of an American public who, once they heard the terms of the deal, decided it just wasn't good enough? Or is this the result of opponents of the deal playing better politics than the supporters, Heather?
I think it's definitely the prior statement that it's just not a good deal. The fact that, Senator Cotton wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today talking about the fact that the Irani Ayatollahs had access to all of these documents, all of the side deals, yet no one on the U.S. side has seen them. And there's no counter to that on the other side. Nobody is responding to that criticism. They're simply saying there's no better deal, which we've heard a lot of times, or that the risks of rejecting this deal is bigger than the benefits.
All right, so what you're suggesting then are that those, particularly in opposition to it, are aware of the terms of it and have judged it to be unworthy.
Right, aware of what terms we are aware of. The fact that there are side deals in and of itself.
But there's always, I got to bring this up. When Ronald Reagan negotiated with Gorbachev and entered into the disarmament agreements with the Soviet Union, there were side deals there too. Why wasn't anybody complaining about it then?
Because the entire procedure by which this has been done has been really, really secretive.
So was that.
And to go around Congress and get the UN's approval before you get Congress's approval, I don't think that any president has ever done that before.
First of all, there's absolutely nothing secretive about that. I understand your point, and you can argue over it was good form, bad form, whatever, but it doesn't speak to the deal itself, and it also doesn't have any impact over whether or not our Congress ends up supporting the deal. So,
well, I think it does have some impact.
It also doesn't matter whether Congress supports it or not. Even if a majority vote to disapprove it, one, the president's made it clear he's going to sign it no matter what, and two, there aren't enough.
Clear he's going to veto it.
Well, yeah, he'll veto their disapproval. Right. He'll sign the treaty, and it'll.
Wait, it's not quite. You're making it sound like he can just do that. Let's be fair. He's going to veto it, and I think what you mean to be saying is that they won't have enough votes to override his veto.
No, they won't.
That's a lot different than the vetoing it.
You're right. I was aping his arrogance about the treaty.
Well, okay,
I apologize.
You're
right.
Let's keep it right.
But there are not enough Democrats to join forces and override any.
That's right.
So this is a.
So it will be the deal.
That's a big deal.
So the poll also found that Democrats support the deal by a margin of 58-8, while Republicans oppose the deal by a margin of 60-15. I'll come back to you, Heather. If it's not politics as usual, how do you explain those numbers?
Well, I think a lot of it is politics as usual, but I think that, I have to ask you, Rick, does it not upset you that the Ayatollahs have seen this document, these side deals, and yet no one from the United States has seen it?
Well, somebody has seen it.
No, they were not. They were given the paper and then it was taken away.
John Kerry, I suspect, has seen it. Don't you?
No, not according to the op-ed. Did you read the op-ed today?
Oh, yeah, I did, but I don't think that's what it said.
They saw it, but then it was taken away.
Then it's not a side deal. It's not a side deal if nobody on the other side is how it's. You're a lawyer. You know there has to be a meeting of the minds
between the committee and the Iranis.
You mean between the IAEA,
yes,
not between the United States.
That's correct.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's correct. Does that not bother you at all?
It depends what's in it, and by the way, I don't think.
Sure.
I don't think it's true that John Kerry doesn't know what's in it. I just don't buy that.
I don't know. I mean, listen, Congress should know what's in it.
That's another story, and Congress probably should know what's in it. I agree with that, but that's not what you're saying. You're saying that nobody in the American government knows what's in that. I don't buy that. I don't buy that John Kerry doesn't know. I don't buy that Moritz doesn't know.
If Congress is voting on it, they should
it.
have the right to
I'm
those
with you on
documents.
that.
I know one person that knows.
Who?
Marie Hoff. She's been involved with this from the top at the very beginning. And she will decide.
Whatever happened to everybody's favorite co-ed
She's no longer a spokesman, so we don't get to see her on a daily basis.
Yeah, but she went off to do the negotiations, and she never came back.
That's true. Well, it is summer, and she's got to get ready for Pledge Week, which starts only right after Labor Day, so we got to look at it that way. You mentioned messaging before. And part of the messaging that's winning here, not so much from Republicans, but from the Ayatollah himself. When he's tweeting out, a picture of Obama committing suicide and saying basically, you know, it's a letter between E and G, you, United States, yeah, we made a deal, but we're still going to continue to be bombastic and death America.
Here's what I find
Americans don't like to see that.
No, they don't. I don't like to see it either.
It's an end zone
but there's one thing that I do recall. Before we ever sat down to make this deal, the Ayatollah was already doing the death to America thing and destroy Israel and all that, and nobody complained, especially Mike Huckabee.
Maybe people thought he'd stop after the deal was done, though. After we're giving him $100 billion, he's like, still screw you.
But he's got his political problems, too. He's got hardliners that don't want this deal more than you don't want this deal.
And plus, no one can tell him from the last Ayatollah and the last Ayatollah. They all look the same, right?
That's true. Ayatollahs have what? All right. Well, we want to know what you think about the Iran deal, although, again, I have a pretty good idea. I do know. We want you to weigh in at newsmaxtv.com/comments and let us know. Coming up next, we're going to read some of your viewer comments. That's how I know. Don't go anywhere.